Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dee and this is Dee's Reading Lounge, where I'm sharing my love for reading at my own pace. Welcome if you are new to my channel. If you like all things that I do here on the channel, bookish related, I do vlogs, talk about the books that I'm reading. I do include a little lifestyle. I do invite you to subscribe down below, and don't forget to leave a comment so I know you will hear. And if you liked the video, like it as well. And if you are returning, thanks so much for coming back. I really do appreciate your continued support. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into this video, y'all. You know, one thing that I don't want my channel to be is kind of censored and to be afraid to talk about the things that I want to talk about on the channel. A little disclaimer before I go deep into this video. These are just my opinions, okay? Take everything with a grain of salt. These are just my opinions. What may work for me may not work for you, okay? Okay. One of the new concepts when I first got back into my reading and started my channel and things like that, that I learned of, I heard of something called immersive reading. I'm like, immersive reading, what is that? You know, so of course I went digging and I learned it's when you read and simultaneously listen as well. And so I was like, very intrigued. I was like, that's a, different concept. I wonder, is it going to increase my reading experience? So I've always been interested in the concept. I don't know, do something different or whatever when I'm reading. And so I tried it about 2 weeks ago, and y'all, no, I am not buying into immersive reading. I did read up on the fact that some people say it enhances their comprehension, retention, and I'm looking at my notes down here, faster reading speeds and improved focus. It also said it caters to diverse learning styles and can be particularly helpful for individuals with learning differences like dyslexia. So I'm all good with that if that works for that person. But for me, it just did not work. And for me, don't have any of those focus problems, any learning disabilities or anything like that I know of. So that doesn't apply to me. So as far as me and my experience, these things would not help me because I don't really suffer from these things. I know for some people it may work for them. I just don't buy into it for me because it does have its drawbacks. And I'm looking at some notes here. First of all, before I read what my research says, I'm going to tell you how I felt when I was doing it like 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago. I felt like it was just too overstimulating. So overstimulating that I just could not comprehend on what was going on because I'm listening and also trying to visually read with my eyes. It was just too much for me. I felt like I was reading at a much faster pace than what I was listening to also. Now, I don't like to turn when I'm doing Audible, I don't like to turn the speed up super high because I tend to miss things when I do that. So I keep it at a normal speed, maybe 1.25 or something like that. Something that, is an even pace. I can understand what the person is saying because listening at a fast rate plus reading with my eyes, it was just absolutely too much. That's the experience that I had from that experience. So it does say, from my research, it does say here that some disadvantages include the potential for distraction from the narrator's voice, which is a big one because if you don't like the narrator's voice, it's going to be a distraction. Also, it says it hinders the ability to create their own mental imagery. Now, when I'm reading a book, if a book is really, really good, I can actually, while I'm reading with my physical eyes, I can actually visualize the setting myself. That experience does change when you are doing both because you're trying to listen and read at the same time. There's no room for you to imagine what you're reading. But let's go on. It says this can be particularly problematic if the narration doesn't align with the reader's perception of a character's voice. And one other big thing is that it could lead to students or just a normal reader like me to become passive learners, relying on guidance rather than developing their own reading strategies. So to me, that's a big reason why it didn't work for me. I felt like it was just too much going on and it didn't allow me the opportunity to see the characters in my own voice versus the narrator's voice or even the settings. And so it didn't work for me and I really don't buy into that immersive reading for me. All right, so moving on. One thing that I hear a lot on BookTube is, I haven't heard anybody talk about this book. I'm like, okay, well, you know that there is a whole world, right, outside of BookTube and online platforms that could be talking about that book. But just because someone is not talking about the book does not mean it's not a good book. I'm all for recommendations. I love to take recommendations from people who read books and enjoy books that I like. And even if they don't read the books that I like, sometimes I like to step out of my comfort zone and read other books as well. But you have to kind of ask yourself, what's your taste? You should have a taste. You should be able to go into a bookstore and pick out books that vibe with you based on how you're feeling, if the back of the book captures your interest, even the cover. If the cover captures your interest, match with the back of the book. I think when you 100% rely on recommendations and you're reading things that other people recommend for you, there's something being lost there. Like, your taste, your reading style, and things like that. While I love recommendations and I love giving recommendations, okay, nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying, I just don't buy into reading all the popular books just because everybody else is reading all the popular books. I like to read things that I am drawn to and go into a bookstore naturally and pick out things that I see that's interesting. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is not reading nonfiction. I know everybody has their taste, but I just don't buy into it for me. Remember, this is for me, things that I don't buy into, because I feel like I want to learn something every day. And I've noticed that since I have been reading more fiction lately, I've strayed away from my nonfiction. There's some nonfiction books back there that's been on my TBR for a long time. And if you've been watching my channel, you know I started with Black history nonfiction because I wanted to learn about my past, because I truly feel like in order to even enjoy and to know what's going on in historical fiction, Black historical fiction especially, you should know the foundations or fundamentals of Black history in itself. And so I have strayed away from reading some of my nonfiction books because I am enthralled in these fiction books. Nothing wrong with that, but I don't buy into not reading nonfiction because I just feel like, especially as Black people or people in general, we should know our history. We should be learning something about ourselves, wanting to improve yourself. You know, when I hear people say, well, I don't really read nonfiction. I mean, I understand that's, you know, what you do, but I don't buy into that because I'm still going to, and I want to read nonfiction because I feel like it's important for my self-development. Oh, one more thing. This is the last thing, I promise. Not reading books that are hard just because they're hard and they're trauma-filled. Now, I get it, especially with trigger warnings and things like that. But I truly do believe that exposing yourself to books that are not fluffy are going to help you grow as a person, as far as empathy, as far as seeing other sides to a story, so you're not having tunnel vision, because we all learn from like our parents, our surroundings, nature versus nurture, and all those things. And sometimes we can get stuck in our old way of thinking. If we are exposing ourselves to much harder reads, because most of these books, or at least the authors that I'm reading right now, they're writing about things that have happened and are happening in the world right now. Just because they're hard and you don't feel like dealing with it, to me, does not excuse you not reading that book. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm very passionate about reading hard books, especially Black literature. Because you know the saying, if you don't know your past, how can you predict the future? Or how can you make the future better? It just opens up your mind to healing, reading books, healing, thinking about things that have happened in your life that is happening to these characters and how they responded to it. It just makes you think and open your mind to it. Now, I'm not saying read hard books back to back, because that can have a mental toll on you. It really can. Sometimes I gotta take a break. Right now, like I am taking a break because sometimes the heavy trauma books become a little bit too much and I have to take a break, but I eventually go back here and there. I try not to read like too many heavy books back to back, because like I said, it can be hard on you mentally, but they are important reads. And I think you should consider, if you're one to avoid hard reads, you should consider reading a harder book here and there. And I know people read to escape and things like that. I understand that. Like I said, take this with a grain of salt, okay? If you really don't read these type of books, then do you. I completely understand. But you should still consider it, because I think it still I think it's still important to read hard books for all those reasons I mentioned before. All right, I'm done, y'all. That was the last thing that I just don't buy into, avoiding hard books because I don't want to deal with it. Those are the things, I'm not sure how many of those things they were, that I just don't buy into here on this BookTube space. Like I said, please take this with a grain of salt, okay? Please don't get into your feelings about this. If you're watching this video, let me know one thing that you don't buy into as far as the bookish community and things like that. I do want to say that the dynamics of this community has changed a lot, because there was a time when nobody was reading contemporary or romance book. And now that seems to be like the main talked about genre, and all the other genres are kind of like, seem like they've been kicked to the curb. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about this video down below. We can all agree to disagree. I really want this channel to be authentic, you know, coming on here. As you can see, my authentic self. I'm in my house clothes, sitting on the floor. I got my little bookshelf back there, you know, just talking about real stuff and just getting things off my chest. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.